Hello, 5th grade. We're on Domain 7, William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, Lesson 2, Exploring Character Relationships and Motivation. Our objectives for today are to compare characters from A Midsummer Night's Dream and to describe the relationships between the characters and their motivation. Some key vocabulary. Course is a path. A fiancé is a woman engaged to be married. Elope is run off secretly to be married. Iambic pentameter is a regular line of poetry containing roughly 10 syllables with heavier stresses falling on even-numbered syllables. So throughout this unit, we're going to read summaries before we actually read or watch any of the Shakespeare, so we can kind of get an idea of what we're looking at, because obviously Shakespeare's language is a little bit hard to understand. So we're going to get a summary of it before we actually listen to how it's read through his words. So we have 5 characters in this scene. We have Theseus, Aegeus, Hermia, Demetrius, and Lysander. The course of true love never did run smooth, especially in Athens, where our play is set. The play begins with the Duke of Athens, Theseus, speaking to his fiancée, Hippolyta, about their upcoming wedding. They are interrupted by a man named Aegeus, who has come to the Duke with his daughter Hermia and 2 men who want to marry her. Hermia loves Lysander, but her father wants her to marry Demetrius, and asks the Duke to support his choice. Aegeus says that the law in Athens states that a daughter who refuses her father's wishes must be put to death or become a nun. Lysander argues with Aegeus and says that he would make just as good of a husband as Demetrius. The Duke agrees with Aegeus and gives Hermia 4 days to decide whether she will marry Demetrius or face her punishment. After everyone else leaves, Lysander tells Hermia that he has a plan. He has an old aunt who lives in a different city where the harsh law of Athens does not apply. He tells Hermia to meet him in the woods tomorrow night, and they will travel to his aunt's house and be married. Hermia then tells her good friend Helena about their plan. Helena and Hermia have been good friends back when they went to school together, but Helena is in love with Demetrius and is jealous that now Demetrius wants to marry Hermia. She has a plan too. She will tell Demetrius that Hermia and Lysander are planning to elope. She thinks that even though he doesn't love her, Demetrius will thank her and maybe fall in love with her. So that is what the scene is, and the summary for this is. So we have some characters that we're learning about. So Hermia, she wants to marry Lysander, and what's preventing her is her family. Lysander wants to marry Hermia, and that's with prevented Aegeus' wishes and Theseus. Aegeus for Hermia to marry Demetrius, and so on and so forth. Feel free to read through this, even without me going through it, because I know you guys can read through this. And kind of figure out what the character wants, and it does go all the way across. So Hermia also, she's planning on running away, and what would describe her as a character would be loving. So this is a good example of the characters that we're meeting in this play. So now we're actually going to watch A Midsummer Night's Dream, the first part. But we're actually going to watch it without sound. Now, I know this is kind of odd, but we want you to look and see if you can identify who the characters are just from the summary, and think about ways you could describe what you are seeing. So when the actors and directors are creating the production, they study the text super carefully. So they're looking for evidence to use to feed their imagination. So throughout this unit, you're going to see various interpretations of this, including videos, some photographs, and some performances from other people. So now we're going to talk about iambic pentameter. So when we're talking about iambic pentameter, what we're actually discussing is how there is a rhythm to things. So ta-tum, 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 ta-tum. The tum, the large part of the tum, is the unstressed syllable, followed by, or that is the stressed syllable, followed by an unstressed syllable. So the course of true, love never did, run smooth. That is like the flow of it, and that's how the syllable sounds. And it signifies something occurring 5 times. So 5 iambs are described as an iambic pentameter. So the rhythm of an iambic pentameter is the rhythm closest to the English speech. In Shakespeare's time, actors did not have a lot of time to learn their lines, so they had to predict the theme of the iambic pentameter. That made it easier for them to memorize the parts, so they can kind of have a flow to help them memorize lines. So they often use this in formal situations with characters of kings, queens, and their courts. And he actually didn't always use the iambic pentameter, but he used a different beat in different places, and you'll kind of notice that. So now we're going to be doing a course smoother. So the course of true love never did run smooth. The course in this text means the route or the direction that true love goes never runs smooth. So given what you've read about what has already happened in the first scene, what do you think this line means? The course of true love never did run smooth. How is it demonstrated in this text? So the path of true love has obstacles. People in love often have problems. A relationship is not always a straight line, as demonstrated by Hermia and Lysander's relationship. Their marriage is being prevented by the law of Athens. So the characters in Midsummer Night are in the midst of some bumpy adventures. Some newspapers and magazines and websites, they offer something called an advice columnist. And that's a person who gets letters from people and they help them and give them advice on what they think they should do. So you're actually going to play the role of an advice columnist or a course smoother to offer advice to the characters of this play. And then you're going to do that for your assessment, and we will see everyone in our next lesson.